Have you ever felt your pitch was good, but investors just moved on and said no to you in the end and didn't really give you a reason why? When I was investing, I discovered three proven triggers that make your pitch stick in an investor's mind and shift them from a maybe to a definite yes to your funding round. So in this video, I'm going to show you how top founders use these triggers to raise over $250 million so you can stand out and make sure you're in the 5% of founders that investors actually remember. And the first one is so important because it's at the core of a successful funding round, and it's what I call founder magnetism. But before we move into all of these three triggers, if you want to learn weekly the actual psychology behind why investors make decisions and how that relates to you building a funding round that actually makes you get funding, you can check the links below to get more detail of how we can do that. But look, going back to founder magnetism, what does that actually mean? And why do some founders have it whilst others don't? Let's break it down then. Founder magnetism. So before we go into the kind of nitty gritty of it, I just want to give you a breakdown of my background as a VC and how this really understanding of this psychology became a big thing. I raised $16 million from my own company, and then I moved on to the other side to be a VC. And when I was there, I didn't really understand this until I really honed into and had to make decisions myself. And when I was doing my funding round, and you probably feel this yourself, I was always thinking about getting the funding round done and then being able to build my business. So what happened is my mindset was always on the end goal being the fundraise. However, when you move to the investing side and you're looking at hundreds of different companies at the same time and can only really make investments into, let's say, 1 to 5, depending on the fund, it really changes how you think about companies and what you're doing as you go through it. So, for example, when you're a VC or any type of investor, really, you're not really just thinking about putting the money into the business. You're really thinking about that long-term view and thinking of this being a decade-long journey from that first investment towards hopefully an exit in the next 5 to 10 years from that point. So what we were really worried about all the time was, what is it actually like to work with this person? And a big part of that was, is this person being truthful to us? Do I want to work for them? We're a lead investor, so if I sit on the board, how are they going to communicate with me? Do I want to communicate with them? So making an investment wasn't the end goal for us. It was, to be frank, just the start, because that was when the serious work was going to happen. And when, for a VC at least, we'd actually make our money. And this is the big thing that I see founders get wrong when it comes to founder magnetism. You're focusing so much on the fundraise as the end goal, i.e. when I get the fundraise, that's the success of what I get from it. So you go into these meetings expecting that to be the end goal, but the difference between it is investors aren't thinking in that way. They're thinking completely different. They're thinking of that fundraise as being the start. And what they're really testing on you is, do I want to work with this person? Do I like this person? Do they communicate with me? All of these kind of things that really matter in a much bigger way than just an end of a fundraise. And you need to think about it being a decade-long journey where you're going to be working with them together. And it's not just about getting money in your company, but taking on a partner that is going to work with you for the next decade, both on both sides, and you testing them as well as them testing you. Because fundamentally, the investor has to want to work with you, and you have to want to work with them. But the question is, how do you do this? How do you build that founder magnetism? And I think of it in three different ways. The first thing is you need to change your mindset of the round. And that's harder said than done, but it's super important. You need to really think about the fundraise as a start and really set up all of the conversations you have around it of being, I'm looking for a partner, not I'm looking for money. The second thing is you need to focus on finding the people you get along with and really focusing on finding the right amount of people and the volume of people so that you can meet as many people as possible and find the right people. And number three, and this is the most important one, you just need to be authentic with who you are. So stop trying to get the best tips or all of this kind of things around fundraising. You just need to don't be scared about showing who you are, the way in which you think, and being really truthful. And yes, that's going to mean that some investors say no to you. And that's okay, because if we increase the amount of people we meet and we increase the amount of things that we're doing and the opportunities that we have, then you can really be authentic because you're confident you'll be able to find the right people and you're not scared about the money that's coming in. But let's be real, being someone that investors actually want to work with is only half the battle, because even if they like you, you still need to give them a reason to remember you and to really make them want to invest into you. And that's where the second psychological trigger comes in. And it's what separates the karaoke crowd from the headliner singers. It's like being at a karaoke night, right? And every single person is playing the same Ed Sheeran song over and over again. And you're just getting bored because they're all playing the same things. Only for someone to come on, you don't know, who just played an amazingly great, potentially original song or something completely different. And just think about that for a second. If that happens, everyone would stop and actually listen, because it's not just the same thing happening every day. And this is the problem that I see with founders all the time, is you're parroting the same thing over and over again. You think you're being unique, but you're just, because here's the thing. Investors, they have seen every single one of your competitors. They've seen everyone in your industry. They've seen everyone in your industry. And they're all saying the same thing. Oh, healthcare needs to be improved, or people care about open banking, or this is AI, etc., etc. But the thing is, when everyone says the same thing, everything just gets lost. And where founders go wrong is you're not really sitting down and really thinking about, okay, what's actually unique about what I'm doing here? What am I actually doing different? And that's really the crux of building a great business, especially in technology and innovation. You have to be doing something wildly different, whether it's in your product, your market, the way in which you're building your team, the way in which you're doing anything, branding, whatever it is. You're going to be doing something different, because that's the reason why you think you're going to win. And that's the reason why you think you're better than everyone else. And if you don't have that, then you need to either go back to the drawing board or think about not doing this company. And where you go wrong is you think you're doing these great insights, but they're just generic, that anyone can say, that doesn't really mean anything. And every single insight that you tell me should be an aha moment. Even for me, especially for other investors, they should be going, wow, I never thought about it in that way. And then setting yourself up in the right way to show that you're going to be able to do that, and that these insights actually mean you're going to succeed. But for an investor seeing hundreds, if not thousands of startups a year, you need to stand out. And this is how you do it. Because your non-obvious insight really makes you unforgettable. And you want them to feel like, wow, they see something I don't. And this is something in which no one else can see either. But if they're successful, they're going to win. But things are, how do you do this? What does it look like? Where I see founders go wrong the most is you don't sit down and actually think about what's unique, about what you're doing compared to incumbents and competitors. So what you need to do is you need to write down each 3, and that will seem a lot, but if it's a lot, then you need to go speak to your customers more. You need to understand and hone into what it is. Because if you don't have 3 for each of these, then you're just doing it wrong and you haven't built a great business. But what you need to be doing is 3 things for what different that you're doing. Again, whether it's product or customer or whatever it is, that's going to mean you're going to succeed, and really delve deep into what you're doing differently, why you're doing it differently, and why that's going to make you better, whether it's faster, cheaper, easier to scale, more people joining, whatever it is. On the flip side, you need to go into what is your competitors or your incumbents of your industry doing wrong? Why are they doing it wrong? And why do they not realize and understand the way you understand? Whether it's they've been in the industry too long, they're focusing on this thing, which is the wrong way of thinking about it. Whatever it is, you need to have 3 for why you're better and 3 for why everyone else is feeling or doing things in the wrong way. And that's a really important aspect. And that unique insight is what's going to allow you to become unforgettable and make investors feel like you actually can create something that is going to be different, is going to change your industry and make the world a better place. And in the end, will actually be able to give the investor a chance to make their money. But the thing is, having a unique insight isn't quite enough, because investors aren't just looking for clever ideas, of course. They're hunting for something with explosive potential. And that's why you need this third trigger, connected to the other 2, of course, to really hone into and make investors love you and want to invest. So let me give you an example. When I was investing, we came across a company called Skin & Me, and we'd seen loads of companies over the last 6 months, and we were deciding which ones we were going to invest into. We said no to a lot of them. But as soon as we met Skin & Me, the energy in the room changed and acted hard and really fast on it. And a big part of that was obviously the founder magnetism of showing how much we wanted to work with these founders. A big part was the unique insights of what they were doing and how they were doing it. But also the big one was really the kind of realization of how big this company could be. And that's what the third trigger is. And it's what I call asymmetric return potential. But how do you show investors that your startup has that kind of upside and really has that asymmetric return potential that makes them feel like they want to be a part of it. And a big part of going back to Skin and Me, if they get everything sorted here, they're going to go massive. And everyone was coming in and needed to move fast, and that they can scale this so fast. And it's already been proven in some ways that this is the last chance that we can make before we're never going to be able to get into this company ever again. In the end, we ended up leading a £9 million seed round, which is a crazy amount of money for a seed round. But that was because we were so excited by this business and what it could do. And what they did exceptionally well is they set us up in such a great way from a psychology point of view of this is the last time in the inflection points of your business, i.e. you've got to a point where your company is just going to go like this and it's going to keep going up and up. And that's really the kind of crux of what we're trying to do here. We're trying to show investors that you've done stuff in your business that if they don't make a decision right now, your company is going to exponentially grow so much and the valuation of the next round is going to be so much that this is the last chance that they get. And they've missed out on this and they're going to have to grovel or come into the next round with a lot less, or in the end, in 10 years' time saying, we missed this. That's the first thing. The second thing you need to do on that is you also need to really hone into that this is a competitive round and a lot of people in it. And if they don't make a decision fast, someone else is going to invest into you. But how do you really do this? You need to first sit down and actually think about how big you can be and what it would look like. A really simple way of thinking about it is what's the average revenue per customer or per user or whatever it is, whether you're B2B or B2C. Then, what your user type is an ICP, and then think about it from 100 million in revenue. What does it look like for you to reach $100 million in revenue? Is that this amount of users? Is it this amount of price? How long would that take? How many of those are you speaking to already? All of these kind of things. And the second thing you need to do is you need to look back at the last 6 to 12 months or in the future, what something's happening, and really hone into, okay, what's the big thing that's happening right now? Whether it's we're just about to launch or we have launched and everything's going crazy, or we've just about to put this new product line in, or we've just implemented this thing, whatever it is, to show that this is the last chance that someone's going to get before your company goes crazy. And you need to hone into what those two look and map them together and show that this is basically the last time to invest before all of this goes crazy and how you really win this market. Okay? So to recap, if you want to be the founder investors actually remember, it's not just about having a great pitch. That's important, sure. But it's also about being magnetic, bringing a unique insight, and showing the kind of upside that makes people sit up in their chairs. And if you want to learn more about how we do this, then check the links below to join my newsletter where you can see more information and I give you daily/weekly actionable tips on how to do this in the right way. But here's the thing. Most founders stop at one or two of these. But if you nail all three, you won't just get remembered. It'll be the biggest precursor and the biggest increase of chance of you actually getting funded. Because these are the three psychological triggers that make investors want to invest into you. We need to get all three of them humming at the same time and making investors feel these triggers, because these are the things that are going to make them say yes instead of these classic, you're too early or need more time or all these kinds of things. So take a hard look at how you are in investor meetings, how you are in emails, how you're being introed, and focus on which of these emotional triggers are you strongest. Where can you push further? How do you push further? What more insights do you have to gain or speak to customers to really hone into and make sure that you have all of these emotional triggers ready so that you can start implementing them and talking to investors in that way. Because the founders who stand out aren't just lucky, they're deliberate in what they do, and they're deliberate in how they actually structure their narrative and the way in which they talk to investors and the triggers that they show them to really make them be successful. But if you want more information on how you can help you with your fundraise in all of the different parts, whether it's network, narrative, or process, then check this video to see more info.